Good day, students. Welcome to mathgotserved.com. In this clip, we're going to be going over section 7.1 or in our series on operations on fractions, multiplying, dividing, adding, and subtracting fractions. In this one, we're going to be looking at how to multiply fractions. A sample problem of what we're going to be covering in this tutorial is given here, where it's 3 over 7 multiplied by 2 over 3. If you have not reviewed the prerequisite skills for multiplying fractions, namely how to find common factors and reduce fractions, just scan this QR code so that you can refresh your memory on the prerequisite skills, and then you can continue with this presentation. Don't forget, we have practice problems at the end of this tutorial for you to try out in order to demonstrate mastery of what we are covering. Alright, to get us started, we're going to write down the formula that's going to be guiding our problem solving process. So the formula for multiplying fractions is as follows. So if you have a fraction a over b being multiplied by another fraction c over d, the rule is as follows. When multiplying fractions, you multiply horizontally across, okay? So it's going to be a times c divided by b times d, which you can write in a simplified form as ac, which represents a times c divided by b times d. What this formula is telling you to do in essence is multiply numerator by numerator. So numerator times numerator divided by what? Denominator times denominator. Just multiply across. Okay? So that's basically what this formula is having us do here. Alright, so let's go ahead and apply this formula to some problems. Instructions are for us to find the product. Okay, an expectation when you're finding products is for you to simplify your answer completely. That's a standard process. Okay, so for question number 1, what if we were to find the product of 3 over 7 and 2 over 3? Remember that term product just means multiply, right? Okay, before we start with this example, let's review the steps for multiplying fractions, the steps that we're going to be using in this tutorial. Okay, so here are the steps. The first thing you'll do is you want to multiply the fractions. So multiply, how do you multiply the fractions? You multiply using the formula that we just took a look at. So multiply using the formula a over b, first fraction multiplied by c over d, is simply numerator times numerator, a times c, divided by denominator times denominator, b times d. Okay? After multiplying, the second step is you to simplify. How do you simplify? You divide out the greatest common factors. If you don't remember how to simplify fractions, just scan this QR code here and it will take you right to lesson 7.0b, where the skill of reducing fractions or simplifying fractions is covered in detail. Okay, so let's go ahead and attack this problem. We're going to multiply this. Let's go ahead and start with step 1. So we have 3 over 7. That's our a over b, the first fraction, multiplied by 2 over 3. That's our second fraction, c over d. Okay, so there are two ways to multiply fractions. You can either reduce and multiply, or multiply and reduce. In this particular presentation, we're going to use the latter method. We're going to multiply, then reduce. Regardless of the order that you reduce before you multiply or afterwards, you're going to end up with the same answer. It doesn't make any difference, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and do this. Multiply the numerator times numerator, so it's 3 times 2. The numerator on the left and the right divided by the denominator, 7 times 3. Okay, so that's A times C divided by B times D. Now we're going to proceed to multiply the numbers. What is 3 times 2? That's 6. What is 7 times 3? That is 21. We're just done with step 1. Step 2, now we're going to simplify, okay? So we're going to proceed to simplify 6 over 21 if it's possible. So to do that, we are going to write down the common factors, okay? And then we pick the greatest common factor because that's basically the fastest way to simplify. So starting with 6, the factors of 6 are 2, 3, and 6. And then let's list the factors of 21 up to 6. Okay. So what are the factors of 21? 3, 7. Oh, we could stop there. If we just put 21, it doesn't really matter. But so we can stop at 7 because any number bigger than 6 cannot be a factor of 6. So take a look at these factors of these two numbers. Are there common factors? There is exactly one, namely 3. If you have only one common factor, that is automatically your greatest common factor because there isn't any greater common factor present. So what that means is when we simplify by the greatest common factor, we automatically arrive at the simplest form or the complete reduction. So 6 divided by 21, what we're going to do is take this common factor GCF, which is 3. We're going to divide the numerator and the denominator by that number. Okay? When we divide by the same number, we're not changing the magnitude of the fraction. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then 21 divided by 3 is 7. So there goes our final answer for question number 1. So let's write down a statement, solution statement. 3 over 7 times 2 over 3 is equal to 2 over 7. That's your final answer. Okay, now let's take a look at another example, question number 2. All right, so for question 2, what if you're asked to find the product of 536, 5 over 36 times 6? All right, so let's do this. So what is 5 over 36 times 6? Now you might be wondering, in this lesson, we are supposed to be multiplying fractions, right? But here we have a fraction, 5 over 36, and a whole number, 6. How do we apply what we're learning to this situation? Or how is this related to what we're learning? Well, this is very important, something to keep in mind, which is that all whole numbers are fractions. Okay, so let's put down the side, recall, or let's say note. All whole numbers are fractions. Okay, but not all fractions are whole numbers. But all whole numbers are fractions. How is that possible? Well, we're going to take a look at that right now. 5 over 36 times 6. 6 is a whole number, but it's a fraction. What kind of fraction? What's a fractional representation of 6? If you want to convert a whole number into a fraction, all you do is just put it over 1. 6 divided by 1. Voila. There you have it. Okay? So just remember, when you're multiplying a whole number and a fraction, just rewrite the whole number as a fraction by simply dividing it by 1. Okay, so now that we've expressed our second number as a fraction, Now we can use the formula that we talked about, okay? So note that our original multiplicand was a whole number, but we converted it into a fraction just by dividing it by 1. Okay, so now let's go ahead and apply the formula. So if you're multiplying two fractions, a over b times c over d, what do you do? Numerator times numerator, 5 times 6, divided by denominator times denominator, 36 times 1. Okay, just multiply horizontally across. What do we get? 5 times 6 is 30. 36 times 1 is 36. We're done with step 1. Step 2, we're now going to simplify our resulting product. Simplify 30 divided by 36. Okay. All right, let's do that. We're going to list the factors of these two numbers. And then just to do things quickly, we're going to extract the greatest common factor. Okay, that's the fastest way to do it. All right, so what are the factors of 30? There are 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, and 30. What are the factors of 36? The numbers that go into 36 evenly. 2, 3, 4 goes. 5 no 6. 7, 8, 9. 9 absolutely. 10, 11, 12. And then 36. Bam. Okay, so there goes all the factors of the two numbers. Now what we want to do is we want to look for the greatest one. So when we divide by that will be the simplified form. Okay, so look at the factors that are common between the factors of 30 and 36. We have 2, we have 3, we have 6, and that's it. So we pick the biggest one, okay, so that we can do this quickly and efficiently. If you use the other ones, you have to carry out multiple simplifications. So we pick the greatest, which is 6. So what we're going to do now is that fraction to be simplified, we're going to divide by the greatest common factor. What we're doing now is just simplifying the fraction by dividing by the greatest common factor, which is 6. All right, when you divide by the GCF, you get 30 divided by 6 is 5. 36 divided by 6 is 6. There goes your final answer. So 5 over 36 times 6 is equal to 5 over 6. There goes your answer. All right, we're going to do one more practice problem and then give you some problems to try out. Okay, question number 3 will be a word or story problem. So consider this. Abraham uses, let's say, 2/3 of a cup of sugar to bake each cake. Okay, if Abraham bakes 12 cakes, question, how many cups of sugar did he use? Okay, all right, so let's do this. So for this particular situation, we have a unit amount, and you have to find the total amount that's used to generate a greater amount. So let's go ahead and write down what the formula is for solving problems involving unit amount. Okay, so the total amount, which is basically what we're looking for here, total amount of sugar used, is basically going to be the amount per unit multiplied by the total number of units. Okay, total number of units, and that will give us the answer that we want. Let's adapt this formula to this particular situation that we're looking at. We're asked to find the total amount of sugar used, okay, or total cups of sugar. So to do that, we need to know the amount of sugar per cake. So amount of sugar, amount or number of cups, amount of cups per cake. That's a unit amount, okay, per cake. For each cake, how many cups was the amount of sugar used? Okay, amount of cups per cake multiplied by the number of cakes. That's what we're doing. Okay, all right, so in this particular problem, the total cups of sugar used is going to be amount of cups per cake. How much cups of sugar are used here? Let's be more specific with the left side of this formula right here, the multiplier. So amount of cups of sugar per cake, amount of cups of sugar per cake. All right, so how much sugar is used in each cake? It tells us it's 2/3. That's the unit amount right here, 2/3. So it's going to be 2/3. This is the amount of cups per cake. We're going to multiply this by the number of cakes in order to get the total cups of sugar used. How many cakes did Abraham bake? Abraham baked 12 cakes. Okay, so 2/3 times 12 will tell us exactly the total number of cups of sugar used to bake 12 cakes. Okay, all right, so let's multiply this. We have a fraction multiplied by a whole number. So remember what we did in question 2. We talked about the fact that all whole numbers are fractions. So we're going to write the whole number 12 in fraction form. What is it? 12/1. Excellent. Now that we're multiplying two fractions, we're going to use the steps. Use the fraction multiplication formula. Numerator times numerator, 2 times 12. Divided by denominator times denominator, 3 times 1. So that's going to yield 24/3. Okay, all right, so you can just divide if you have your division facts together, but let me just show you how to do this using our common factors. So we have 20. Let's do the smaller one first, in 24. So the factors of 3 are just 3. The factors of 24 are 2, 3. Stop there. You don't need to go bigger than 3, because any number bigger than 3 cannot be a factor of 3. All right, so what are the common factors that these two numbers have? 3. That's the only factor that they both have, and that's automatically your greatest common factor, because that's the only factor that there is. Okay, so to simplify 24/3, we're just simply going to divide the numerator and the denominator by this greatest common factor, which is 3. When we carry out that division, we get 24 divided by 3 is 8. 3 divided by 3 is 1. What is 8 divided by 1? 8 divided by 1 is just 8. Bam. All right, so any number divided by 1 is just the numerator. There goes another whole number that's in fraction form. So we just write it in a whole number format. So what does this answer mean? Let's write down the significance of our answer. Abraham uses what? He uses 8 cups of sugar to do what? He uses 8 cups of sugar to bake 12 cakes. All right. Okay, now it's your turn for some practice problems. Alrighty, so here are the 5 practice problems that we'd like you to try out. So go ahead and pause the video presentation at this time and try out these 5 practice problems. When you're done, click on the playback button and we're going to reveal what the correct answers are. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video at this time. Welcome back. So here are the answers to the 5 practice problems. Hopefully you had a chance to try it out. So go ahead and check your work. How well did you do in these 5 practice problems? Let us know in the comment section below. If you got a good score, go ahead and destroy that like button. If you have any questions about these practice problems or what we went over in the tutorial, specify it in the comment section below and we'll be more than glad to support you. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to help support our channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing this content with your friends. Tons of support resources can be found at mathgotserved.com or just take a look at the links in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Have a wonderful day and we'll see you in the next video.